Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Back at you and Gloves Off. I'm Paul Buitron. I'm here with Martin Holsom. And we're going to touch base on the election for the Texas governor and everything else around. How we doing today, Martin? We're doing good?
Doing great. How you doing?
We're doing great. It's a great hot day in Laredo, Texas. It's, you know.
We had a tornado jump over our place about 30 minutes ago. Didn't really hit us, but it knocked the power out. So just kind of bear with me. I'm sitting in my wife's car right now to do this Zoom meeting with you. So just bear with me if the video or audio gets sketchy.
No problem. We hear you're going to run. You were going to run for as a candidate for the Texas governor. What's going on there? What happened?
There were some things took place back in January, February. Of course, most people know that I'm involved and have a direct involvement with the state militias, just various units. I don't necessarily claim allegiance to any particular one. I go where called and where needed. Those videos started circulating around the internet quite rapidly, and then we got to the point we got to the national election. And we knew what was going on with that. We knew that there was voter fraud. We knew that there was insurrection on the government's part. We knew there was treason on their part. And all I did was simply recite or paraphrase the U.S. code for the punishment for treason, which is hanging. I posted a picture of a noose on Facebook and Twitter, and it said, starting in D.C., let them hang by their necks. This was about a week before they did the final count. And then the day of the election, after we realized what the results were going to be, I said once more, for those who didn't see it, let them hang by their neck until they're dead. Well, that created a firestorm. Of course, I became the neo-Nazi white supremacist of Texas. I was the next Klansman. Just anything you could think of. That was part of it. That wasn't really it in a nutshell. What got me to drop from the race is, unfortunately, we have a lot of people who claim to be conservatives, constitutionalists, Republicans, and or whatnot. And I was getting phone calls, I was getting emails, I was getting all kinds of messages about what these people wanted to do to me, which is fine. But when you start throwing my kids under the bus, man, come on, dude. We got these people were threatening my kids from North Texas to all the way down to my 10-year-old. And they were claiming to be Republicans. Some of them claim to be Democrat, but most of them claim to be Republicans, saying, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Got a phone call that said, concede or you will die. Okay. Keep in mind, I'm a nationalist, okay, and I'm a constitutionalist to the core. But at the same time, I've got a responsibility to my family. And if my family's safety is in jeopardy, I've got to do something. So I did pull from the race. But to make matters worse, the GOP chair of Texas, Mr. Allen West, decided to issue a condemning statement against me, stating that he condemned my words and there was no place in Texas politics for violence. Well, before we get into all that, let's just say this right here. The left's been using violence for years. Hell, they took over what was it, Seattle? They took over, Portland, Oregon. They've been using violence in Minneapolis. They use violence in Chicago. They use violence in Baltimore. You know what? They're getting things done. Truth be told, the conservative movement is getting its ass handed to them. And the reason they're doing that is because they're not willing to get out of their conservative mindset. Things have to change. The Democratic Party rebranded years ago. The Democratic Party many years ago was more conservative than today's conservative party. Let's be honest. And now they are what they are, but they've rebranded as the ultra liberal party. Thing is, they stick together. No matter if they're right, wrong, or indifferent, they stick together. They lie for each other. They die for each other. They'll kill for each other. But here we are as conservatives. Well, we're just going to do it the same way we've always done it. and it's getting our asses kicked. So my thoughts were, you know what? We need to rebrand the Republican Party as the Constitutionalist Party. Well, here's the problem with that, and especially in Texas. We have politicians that are bought and paid for by the national establishment. There's no way they want to break off from what the national establishment wants them to do. We're going to keep doing what we've always done because it's a payday. Not for me. I'm not bought and paid for. Can't be bought and paid for. I work for a living. Aside from all that, it's just not who I am. But on that platform alone, it garnered more attention. It garnered more support than what anybody ever thought was possible. And again, I'm just an old country boy logger from East Texas. I literally campaigned out of my log truck. With what I made with my log truck, that's how I made it around the state. That's how I paid for everything we did for the entire year. And you know what? It didn't take $85 million to do it. But apparently that was threatening or intimidating to the Republican Party of Texas. So here we are today. This is why I conceded from the race. If my own party, and I hate to say my own party because there's so many things that the Republicans are doing that I don't identify with, don't agree with, but they align closer to my beliefs, way closer than the Democratic Party ever would. But my own party blackballed me. Couldn't handle the unfiltered truth. And by doing that, again, it put my family in harm's way. So that's why I pulled from the race.
Well, I'm sorry that happened to you, number one, but I'm from South Texas. I'm from Laredo, and I've been involved in several campaigns and helped out. In fact, did security to several judges that were close to the family when they were running. And why would I do that? Because there was a lot of, and you have to understand that there has not been a Republican winning South Texas or Webb County in a very long time, about 3 decades. Okay, you had 2 city councilmen in there, but it's nonpartisan, our city council, so you can't, it doesn't matter. So what happens is that they've never won, they have not won, they have been forgotten about for the longest time. They throw no advertisement down this way, so people really, they're not going to vote for them. The Republican Party has forgotten Webb County for the longest time, even though you have some rumblings right now, but it really didn't start because of the Republican Party. It started because of the movement of Trump, President Trump. And it was a Trump train that brought forth a new kind of movement. And off there, the Republican parties have written the coattails because they always have to do a movement surrounding the Trump train or a Trump rally. Understand? Right. Other than that, they couldn't get anybody to go there. Right. In fact, for the longest time, my properties and very close associates of mine were the only ones that had signs of Abbott, Paxton, Patrick, Trump on their properties. Now, the second time around, this past election, of course, you saw many of them because of the popularity of the president that we had and the commotion of the Trump train that went forward. But we have been forgotten about. I do not know Mr. Allen West personally. I think he's a nice man. But what I saw him come down here in the last Republican state dinner that they had or meeting that they had down here, and a group of activists, what we refer them to over here as Pinko commies, basically insulted him. Basically, all they needed to do was kick him in the rear end, and they did not defend themselves. They just stood around and said, "Oh, don't call me names, don't call me names." I've been dealing with bullying and teaching people how to deal with bullies for a very long time, and I've come down to a very one specific answer, and people might not like it. And I said, when you're bullied, the best resource for a bully is a right cross in the middle of the mouth. That ends it. Either it's going to end them continuing bullying you, or you're going to get into a nice little fight where they're going to respect you. And that's just the way it is. You see, we've taught our kids to wear a blue shirt and point out a bully and become little rats than actually taking care of the situation. So when I see a leader that turns around and just says, "Oh, don't call me a name," and instead of confronting them, gives me, I don't think they have a backbone. But okay, you have to give it to him that he was a lieutenant commander. I have students in Savant that are lieutenant commanders right now as we speak. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see where it's at. I see the point of that we do need more conservatives to wake up, but I do see the weakness of the Republican Party. Now, here's what do you think about the election coming of age? You have a lot of people throwing in their names. You have a lot of names going down the, in the grapevine. You have a lot of names coming in there. You have an actor that wants to come out and maybe run. You have the Democrats are going to throw Beto O'Rourke. He's a popular guy. He's a nice guy when you talk to him. I've never talked to him, but they say he's a nice guy if you talk to him. So what I've seen him is that he became a voter registrar in Webb County. He's here every other weekend. I've yet to see a Republican candidate down here besides Alan West. And yet he hasn't said that he's going to run. Understand what I'm saying? So they're going to forget South Texas, and South Texas is going to go Democrat. And guess what's going to happen? We're going to have Abbott and Beto at the end of the day.
Yep.
Okay. And I think the rest of the guys that are running in there, Mr. Prather and Sid Miller, that they say he's going to run, Senator Huffins. And if I miss somebody, please, don't get me. I don't know all the names that are out there running right now, but don't hold that against me. And there's nobody really paying attention to South Texas.
Well, the way this election is going as it stands, the way these guys are campaigning, and I get it. We're in Texas, okay? Everybody that wants to run for position in Texas on the Republican ticket, they want to put on the biggest cowboy boots and the biggest cowboy hat, and they want to put the biggest dip of snuff in their mouth. They want to talk the biggest game they can and make them Texans say, yeehaw. But here's the deal. Let's be honest. Now, we got, and again, we don't know if West is going to run for governor or not, but if he does, let's keep in mind, he came from Florida where he done nothing. He literally done nothing. He won a seat. He did the federal government's hard work for them in that state. I can't think of anything he actually done in Florida. He got beat out in Florida for the second time or a second go around. So he comes to Texas and he puts on his big old hat and he puts on his boots and puts on that big old smile and talks that good old country boy Georgia game and all that. Okay, I get it. I see what you got going on. You're a smooth talker, and the middle-aged ladies love him to pieces. Okay, but here's the deal. What has he done? What has he even co-sponsored for the people of the state? Nothing. Okay, I'll give you for instance. Okay, this guy's supposed to be Mr. Patriot, and again, I will never knock his service to the United States. I mean, I thank him for his service to the United States. Okay, but here's the deal. That doesn't make him special. Okay, his butthole points straight to the ground just like mine does too. He's just a man. There you go. But here's the thing. What have you done for the state of Texas? Being a patriot, you should be all about First Amendment, Second Amendment. You should be about the Constitution, period. Okay, there was a bill that hit the desk this last session to basically it would give people like myself and you and anybody else the ability to sue social media giants for censorship. You would think a patriot would be all behind that. I didn't see his name on the sponsorship list anywhere. I don't think it's going through. So here we are today. We're losing our First Amendment protection right here in the state of Texas because nobody wants to stand up for it. But then again, if you look at the contribution, the campaign contribution list and expenditures and things like that, I believe one of them was a $27,000 payment from the Abbott campaign to Facebook. How do you compete with that? I mean, again, I'm a logger. You're a day worker. I mean, how do you compete with things like that? If you're going to buy your way into this, there's no way that the small guy's going to win. Granted, I had a lot of support, and I think we probably could have pulled this election off had we really hit it hard enough. But see, you also have a lot of these so-called grassroots movements, these organizations who say they're behind you, but as soon as their hero, like Alan West, stands up and says, "Oh, Martin Holsom's an evil guy," they pull their support from you. Okay, and it's like, who are you really behind? Are you behind a career politician, or are you seriously behind the grassroots guy who tells you exactly what's on his mind, unfiltered and all? I mean, and I get it. You know, I'm not I'm not that nice guy with a smile. I'm not that guy that comes in with a suit and tie and makes you get all warm and fuzzies. I'm the asshole that comes in and tells you exactly what's wrong. Get off your butt, let's fix it, or get out. That's just the nature of me and who I am and what I do. You know, the rest of the candidates, Chad Prater, great guy. I've talked to him several times personally. I mean, he's a great guy. I was sick back in August of 2020, like bad sick on my deathbed, like, ugh. I had a bad stomach infection. Man, that guy actually called me to check on me. I mean, I give the guy credit where credit's due. He's a super nice guy. From what I understand, he's a pretty good shot with a pistol. I think I'm a pretty better shot than he is, but you know, that's just the alpha males. Aside from all that, the guy made a statement. Okay, he made a statement about vaccinations and requirements for vaccinations and the exemptions and things like that. Now, granted, every man has the right to defend their statements or their words however they choose to. He later come back and tried to explain what he meant whenever he made the statement. However, it was a statement made on Facebook Live. So I tend to think that whatever a person says in a live video, just like this interview right here, people are either going to love it or they're going to hold it against me. But I mean exactly what I say. He meant exactly what he said. And to come back and try to defend your words in front of a bunch of Texans who are hell bent on their personal liberties, you're pissing them to win. The best thing that man could do is say, "Yep, I said it. That's how I felt about it back then. I've had some reconsideration since then. You guys have tore my butt up. I think I'm gonna go with the way you want me to go." People will respect you if you just admit you're wrong. Okay. Now we get over
I'm
to
in full agreement. I'm in full agreement with you. Full agreement.
You get over to Matthew McConaughey. Okay. All right. Okay, great. Okay, so the guy's a freaking actor. You don't think he's going to act a certain way when he gets down there in the Capitol? Man, our liberties are pissed out the window right then as soon as he touches it. I mean, this guy was wearing a freaking mask. I think he was visiting the Grand Canyon or somewhere. He had a mask out in the middle of nowhere. So, I mean, if the guy lives in fear like that, don't you think that the whole fear mongering thing is going to have the trickle down effect for the rest of the liberal crowd? And of course, we're going to be that. We're the anti-maskers. We're the bad guys. You know, we're the guys that keep this thing stirred up. We won't put a mask on. You know, but it's simple things like that that people do in positions of authority. And keep in mind, he's not even a politician. He's just an actor. But he's already captivated the hearts of so many of them young girls. They think he's just so hot. Well, they'll piss a vote down the drain just to get somebody there that can shake his ass on TV. Well, I can shake mine too. You might not like it, but nevertheless, this is the problem we have: is we're voting based on our emotions. We're getting emotional, and we're not looking at the needs. We're not looking at the constitutional needs of our people, and that's a scary place to be. Because, man, when you start making decisions based on your emotions, you start screwing things up. And the Constitution was not written to defend and protect our emotions. It was to defend and protect our Constitution, protect the liberties.
You know, with the names of the ones that you've told me, we missed two other career politicians. One was Sid Miller and Senator Huffins. Those are career politicians. Every time you turn around in the ballot, their names are there. If you're in North Texas, both names are going to be up there. In South Texas, both only one's going to be there, right? But so when I look at politicians trying to make a jump to a higher state, I'm like, maybe that was your calling. Maybe. Okay. And you want somebody that might have some understanding on how the government works and ins and outs inside. You don't want to send out there a rookie that doesn't know anything whatsoever and get eaten alive left and right. Understand? Well, we have what we have with several congresswomen up in Washington. Now, what I see, and I see this is going to turn into how popular are you to beat Beto?
Yeah.
And right now, out of all the people that I see, the actor is the only one that I think that can go toe to toe with Beto, unfortunately. If Abbott stays in there and this is my opinion, and goes with Beto, Beto's going to beat him. And he's going to beat him just like they beat Trump. They're going to remove him out of office, and we're going to get stuck with Beto for the next 4 years. whether they're going to go in there and they're going to do a shenanigans like they did with the Trump election, they're going to win. Okay, so Abbott against Beto, or any of the ones that you have there against Beto, is going to lose.
There's
So
a way to
need
be.
somebody in. That's my opinion. So you need somebody that's going to be strong. You need somebody that's going to be popular, and the people are going to stand behind him. Because Matthew jumps in there, women from the Democratic side and women from the Republican side are going to vote for him because he's not.
Right.
Understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Now, what I hear that his family is very conservative. Okay, he's coming in there. They all have money, so he's not afraid to spend it. He is from Texas, so this is my thing. If he jumps into the race, the dark horse for the Republicans, and the one that's going to win that race is going to be Matthew in a runoff. And he'll probably beat maybe West or Abbott.
You have to get out of the politics if you really want to win this thing. What I mean by get out of the politics is, see, you have Abbott, you have West, you have Chad, you have Huffine. Oh, I say Huffine. I think Huffine's forward. Not sure about Miller, but you have these guys who appeal. They appease a. They appeal to a super conservative crowd. Okay, and what I mean by that is your tip. This is gonna get me in trouble. This your typical little Baptist guys and Baptist girls who, you know, they were virgins until they were married, and they didn't take a drink of alcohol until they were 25, and that was at communion, and marijuana is the devil's lettuce. Okay, that's the crowd that these guys appeal to the most. But see, here's the thing. If I was going to win this race, if I was back in the governor's race and I wanted to win this race, I could take Matthew McConaughey. I could take Beto, the fake Mexican real pendejo. I could take him easy. I tell you how you do that. You have to get back to the Constitution. The Constitution prescribes individual liberties. As it stands right now, we are one of the most restrictive states in the Union. We're actually one of the most restrictive countries on the face of the earth. It's what you do. You say, you know what? Alcohol's been around since whenever. You guys made it legal. You put your tax stamps on it. You put all these restrictions and all these different regulations on it. And alcohol is actually responsible for killing more people to date than any other drug on the face of the earth. Yet it's available at your local Kroger. I don't really care if a guy wants to smoke pot. Guy wants to smoke pot, that's his business. Is it my thing? No, it's not my thing at all. I don't care about it. But if a guy wants to smoke pot, a person wants to smoke pot, so be it. If it chills them out and they're okay with that, let them do their thing. If it keeps them from having seizures, great. If it cures their anxiety, perfect. Different folks, different strokes. We do the same thing with Marlboro. Okay, we do the same thing with a pack of cigarettes. I know so many people that use nicotine as a crutch to keep calm. What's the difference? Well, the difference is it's politics. I'm willing to stand up and say, you know what? I support legalization of cannabis. Okay, that's my stance. If these other guys want to win this race, they're going to have to be for the constitutionally protected liberties of the people. And the Constitution is not comfortable. If you really dig into it, you really get to the nuts and bolts of the Constitution, it's not comfortable. Okay, because we've been conditioned to think that convicted felons shouldn't have firearms. Man, but what if the guy was guilty of knocking a mailbox off the hinges whenever he was 18 years old? That's a felony. Man, he's a dangerous guy. He shouldn't have a gun, huh? See what I mean? So we've been conditioned as a society to think this type of person is defined by this label, and he shouldn't have this or he shouldn't have that. That's not how the Constitution works. Okay, that's how law works. That's how legislating from the bench works. That's how politics works. But if you really want to get down to constitutional legislation, that's where you really find your people who are for the people. I'm personally for the people. And again, it's not written in such a way that it makes you comfortable. It doesn't give you the warm fuzzies, but it does protect your liberties. And that's what we have to get back to. These guys want to win, they're going to have to be all the way for the Constitution or no way for the Constitution. This whole thing about constitutional carry, what do you mean constitutional carry? Why is it even labeled constitutional carry? I leave the house with a gun like it's a wallet. Always have, always will, regardless of a license. Why? Because it's constitutionally protected. Yet these guys wait until we have a freaking crisis and they say, hey, you know what? By God, Texans are gonna be able to defend themselves against the enemy. You can carry your guns. Oh my God! We're gonna vote for that guy because he just gave us our right to carry. He gave you your right? No. He sold it back to you for a vote. God gave you that right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely correct. We were on a group out there, and it has most of everybody that's running is on that group that's there on Facebook. And I placed a question in there, and I said, you know what's important? Everybody's forgetting. How about 50-50 parenting, shared parenting? How about Penal Code 2503, where interference with child custody, which is a state felony, is never enforced by our police. Never. It's never. And then yet you have all these officers, every time you talk to them, they say, if fathers would be more in the lives of their kids, well, you guys aren't the ones that are enforcing it.
Yeah.
Let's start with you guys enforcing a felony. Now, we had a perfect bill that we worked on from down south. It was written by Representative Richard Raymond, a Democrat. And I told a lot of Republicans, hey, we need help. Oh, no. They didn't want to even touch it. And that bill went through the House, and it almost went unanimous. Okay, there must have been someone on both sides that didn't vote for it. Okay, it went to the Senate, and it was killed by our lieutenant governor. He just stopped it automatically. You know what? You were the one out there crying about Antifa and kids and have no direction and so on and so forth a couple of months ago. Well, why don't you start helping out these kids that are not seeing one father or mother because the other one's not allowing them to see him?
Right.
And allowing the police to do their job and enforcing the police to do a job. Listen, the charades, I've known it. We do need to get rid of them. I'm not voting for this governor that we have. I have a small business. I have several small businesses. And what happened? He called us non-essential.
Yeah.
Well, yet in my business, I teach a lot of state troopers how to keep themselves from getting their ass handed to them, because what it's taught to them is really a joke of martial arts and self-defense, and It's going to get yourself killed. What is taught to most police officers out in the academy.
Right.
So he's calling a person like us non-essential. Well, we're the ones that are teaching some of his troopers how to actually learn how to fight when need be.
Right.
Yeah, kind of redundant, huh? So, unfortunately, we are stuck with a bunch of good folks out there that mean well. I believe that they all mean well. But do they have the popularity to go up against Beto? And do they have the conniving attitude that Democrats use to win?
What it's going to take to win again, if you're going to have to pull some of the Democratic vote, because based on just what I told you a few minutes ago with the whole cannabis legalization thing, you're going to lose some of the Republican vote right there. Okay, but you're going to gain probably twice or three times that back, the Democratic vote. What happens from there is once you gain the Democrats back to your side, and they say, hey, this guy's for, I've had people tell me, if you are for marijuana, I'm a Democrat, I will still vote for you. Okay, when you win the Democrats back to your side and they actually see that your policies are constitutional to the core, you've now created what you call some conservative constitutionalists. Okay, they're no longer going back to the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party, they know the Democratic Party is a bunch of crap. Probably half of the Democratic voters know the Democratic Party is a bunch of crap, but it aligns to their very loose leaf ideologies of how things should work. But when you show them true constitutionally protected liberties being protected and defended to the point that they can exercise those liberties in such a way that they're unrestricted, now all of a sudden you've created a constitutionalist and you've just won half the Democratic vote right there. Now what it's going to take is people getting off their stuff and saying, you know what, I don't care what the politics are, I'm for the Constitution. If you're really for the Constitution, I think you can pull this off. The candidates we have right now, I don't think are going to be able to pull it off based on their platform as it stands, because they're all about, let's go shoot some shit and let's go drink some beer pro-Trump. Okay, that sounds great, but nowhere in there did you mention Constitution. Nowhere. Okay.
And and you got something right there. You said they're all over there coming out there pro-Trump. They all have pictures with the sun and with Trump, and those are great pictures. But President Trump just endorsed Abbott.
Yeah. Well, that was a political move too. I mean, I really think it was one of these kind of things that the word is that Abbott's going to run in 2024 for president. I think that we all probably have a pretty good idea what's going to happen in 2024. We hope. And that may be Trump's way of saying, hey, stay where you're at. Just stay doing what you're doing. I don't know. I mean, just, okay, the same thing. I mean, I got a picture with Colonel West. Hell, I'll burn it now. I wouldn't put that on my Facebook or any other platform as that for that goes for anything, just because of who the guy is. I mean, great guy, but not to me. And it's one of these kind of things. People ride these politicians' coattails into fame, and when they get there, they realize that guy's really not what they thought he was. So that's why I say these guys need to stand on their own and fight their own battle, do their own campaigning, quit worrying about who you're standing beside and who you're eating shrimp cocktail with, and go mingle with the mutts out in society like us,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I tell you who has a good shot in that group is Ms. Luther, the hairdresser from up there.
Yeah.
Now, she can gather both the women, and she can gather small business owners behind her, the worker. She can do some damage. If she decides to run, she might have a chance to beat the actor, Matthew, if he runs, and take on Beto. A lot more so than the others.
Right. But then again, like I said, you're getting the small businesses out there, but once again, you have to remember we also live in the quote unquote most conservative area in the Bible Belt of the world. And there's a lot of the older crowd out there, I hate to say it, that just doesn't get behind women in leadership. That's not me. For instance, my city manager here in Rusk, Texas is a female, and she's doing a phenomenal job. So it just goes to show you that a woman can do the job, but she's got a big battle against her when you start talking about some of these older guys and say, I ain't no way I'm voting for no woman. Some of them will stay at the house. Some of them will stay at the house that day when it comes time to vote. Some of them are going fishing that day because it's like they're just not going to swing it. There's just it's not in their programming to do that. Okay.
But it'll be to her advantage if that happens, because they'll be not voting.
Yeah. 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be a good one. I want to thank you for standing up and for always being upfront. And I hate to hear that issues like threats and stuff like that happen to people, especially when you think that running for an office, you don't hear that. But, more and more our government is looking more like the mob every day than anything else. And especially they took off that nice smiley face last year, and they showed their mob-like tendencies of what they did last year. And unfortunately, it looks more like a mob now than a government. There's
things that I can tell you I would never say on an open show like this, just for the fact that it would be detrimental to people's safety. But there's things I could tell you that would really raise the hair on your neck. It would really make you look at our government and be like, that's who that guy is. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm out of Texas politics altogether. I may be just taking a break for right now. It may be that God doesn't want this particular thing for me right now. Okay. Because I've got a great wife. I got a great family that stands behind me on these things. Okay. Granted, there's some of them that don't necessarily agree with everything that I do or agree with, but nevertheless, I've got the majority of the support there. But at the same time, that being said, that doesn't mean that I can abuse that. Okay. That doesn't mean that I can go out there and just go on a rant and piss everybody in the world off and then have everybody gunning for my wife. Because here's the deal. My wife and I both own 2 businesses. I have a small law company and she has a daycare. Okay. We're both intertwined with our businesses. Now, when people said that Well, Martin Holsom tweeted a picture of a noose. You know, he's a white supremacist. Do you want your kids around his daycare? Dude, I will kill for those kids at that daycare. I'm telling you, you come messing on those kids at that daycare, you may be at the end of that rope yourself. Okay, so that's really nothing to even think about. But that's some of the stuff that they throw out there to try to dismantle your businesses and hurt your businesses and hurt your jobs.
Well,
I mean, they were like, "Hey, we need to call his boss." Okay, go ahead. But the thing is, this is some of the tactics that they use to try to hurt you. And of course, at the end of the day, we have to make a living. We have to be able to provide for our families. And when it gets to the point that they're wanting to not do business with you, they're wanting to run you out of town because you said something that they deem embarrassing, it gets hard. But you know what? We pulled through it. We pulled through it. There's a lot more people out there that are for me than there are against me. But right now, I just don't know if it's the time for me to be in office. My wife and I are still discussing that. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I may run for a different position somewhere else and just work my way in. I don't know. But nevertheless, I'm not necessarily done with Texas politics. If for nothing else,
absolutely.
if nothing else, I will be that guy that comes on the Facebook pages when they're not banning me. By the way, I use a VPN to get in, so I may be in Lebanon right now, and I may be, in fact, I'm in Japan right now. So, but I'm the guy that comes in and I state the fact. We need to teach our people and train our people how to use Legiscan and what's going on with our local legislature and our state legislature and stuff like that, so they can make informed decisions when they get ready to vote. Because there's things that are happening in the dead of the night in Austin, Texas, that are going to affect you for the rest of your life that nobody knows a thing about. I'll give you an example. I know you want to get off here, but I'll give you an example. House Bill 4492 basically is a $800 million bailout for ERCOT. Okay, is it ERCOT or ERCOT? That's the electric thing, whatever they do. When you remember when all the storms came through in East Texas and the winter storms and knocked the power grid out, yada yada.
The whole Texas, Texas.
Yeah.
And you know what? Those apparently they turned off the light. It wasn't the winter storms that knocked out the light.
Exactly. But they have people convinced that it was because they weren't weatherized to handle the capacity of electricity during the winter storm. So guess what? They approved an $800 million bailout for ERCOT. Okay, and it even says in the vocabulary, the wording of this bill, that it will be passed on to the people. Okay, we're gonna sustain this, and nobody knew a thing about it. Okay, no one knows a thing about it. So I posted this last night on Facebook in that group that you and I become acquainted on, Fire Rabbit. And man, overnight, they asked my account. I mean, there's things like this. We need to get our people trained to see what's going on. It's not enough to get on Facebook and Twitter and get pissed and moan about what's going on. You have to get active. You need to take your butt to Austin, Texas, be in front of that legislature. You need to go down there, like my dad would say, boy, go show your ass. You need to be able to go do things like that. We can't sit back and cry about the laws they're passing whenever we're the ones letting them pass them.
Absolutely. And there's a lot more bills in that one, but that one's one that came out. And there's plenty all the time. You find out later on, how come you can't do this? Oh, this was passed when?
My thoughts for this right here, if I was able to pull this election off, what's the first thing you're going to do? Easy. We're calling a special session. And we're not leaving a special session until we have constitutional legislation restored to the Republic of Texas. I don't care if it takes 8 weeks, 8 months, or the next 2 years of my term. We're going to special session. We're fixing this crap. And that right there was enough. That was a mouthful. I said that in front of the Capitol one day in a speech, and people were like, "Holy crap, this guy's serious." I think Abbott probably saw that speech too. So there you go. But if you're not down for doing business like that, you're not fit to be a governor of this state. You're not fit to even work in politics in the state. You need to have the people's constitutionally protected liberties at the forefront of everything you do and say.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. And number one, I know we're running out of time, and I want to thank you for standing up.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And continue standing up. I see you in the near future holding a nice position up there. A lot of people forget the governor's one thing, but the one that really has the power in Texas is the lieutenant governor. And I don't know. I do not know who's running against him.
Well, here's the thing. It's not about position for me. When I got elected as a city councilman in 2018, it was a firestorm in my town because, first of all, in your own hometown, people who know you as that teenager that did this and this and this whenever he was this age and blah blah blah, and that was me. Well, they know you as the guy who he's the hometown boy, graduated and went to UCLA, all this kind of crap. Well, that's not me. Okay, and so whenever I got elected, they were like, "Oh my God, Martin Holsom got elected." It was a firestorm for 6 months. But here's the deal. I didn't care about the publicity. I didn't care about being on the front page of the newspaper. I didn't care about being, the topic of discussion in the coffee shop. If I could have done my job from the comfort of my living room and never left the house and never seen a single camera, I would have been okay with that. I don't care about titles. I don't care about positions. I don't care about any of that kind of stuff. I care about someone that's willing to drag a sack, so to speak, and get the job done. That's it.
Absolutely. 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 We'll do it again. Let's just see in a couple of more months and see where we're at and see how many people, how many names have dropped out of that race and who's in there. And we'll take a look at it the way it is and let's see what happens. But to those candidates out there, which I'm pretty sure they're going to be looking at this, let's start paying attention to our youth and several issues that matter. Number one, interference with child custody, that bill 4240, and 50-50 shared parenting. And to right now, none of those candidates has said anything. So does it matter?
It's funny you talk about the shared parenting, and I know we're running out of time again, but the shared parenting thing is, if it's for the betterment of the child, why is the state collecting fees on everything that the father or the mother sends for child support? I mean, to make a payment, you have to pay a fee. If you're late, you have to pay a fee. Where are these fees going? They're going to the state. Why?
Here's another one. Actually, they get federal funding for that.
Yeah.
For all the money that the Attorney General gets in child support, it's matched. I think it was 60 cents on the dollar by the federal government. So imagine that.
Yes, that's crazy because we're the one that funds the federal government. We pay 24.4 cents for every gallon of diesel fuel pumped in Texas and 18.4 cents on gasoline. And we give it to the federal government just for them to give it back to us a little bit at a time. I don't know where it's coming from or how they're using that money, but apparently that's what, the last time I checked, that's what they were getting. They were getting a percentage for the dollar. I don't know if it was 60 or 70%, 70 cents per dollar. Imagine that. That's nuts. That's like the worst drug deal in history. How am I gonna let you stay on your block if you give me 40% of your earnings?
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay.
Oh geez. Anyways, yeah, I got you. That's cool though. We'll do this again sometime soon. It's been awesome though.
You got it, brother. You be safe.
Take care, buddy.
Peace.
Today, in America, more than 5.5 million men, women, and children train in a martial art regularly. Buitron Academy has been serving Laredo for over 30 years now. Our adult classes are geared for producing the best in you, teaching you street-ready techniques. With the arts of Savate and Kinpo, you'll learn the traditions of these sciences of combat as passed down professor to student.
Bonjour, friends of Professor Buitrón. The COVID-19 scare is almost over. Be sure to bring the kids back to the professor's training and help them build their bodies, self-respect, self-confidence, and self-defense. The professor is a very competent and amazing man of several talents, aside from being a lovable teddy bear and a funny man. Get back to the studios. This is Sam Booth calling from Phoenix, Arizona. Have a great training. Bye for now.
Hello, my name is Manuel Lozano. I've been trained in the martial arts for close to 50 years. I trained in many martial arts from different masters and grandmasters throughout the years, from the 70s all the way to now. I've known Professor Buitrón for about 30 years. He has done the same, trained in many different arts with many masters. He's traveled all over France, studying with surviving Salat grandmasters, did his research. This man not just knows the fighting techniques and the art, but the philosophy, the history and the strategy, and applying this arts combined with all the other arts. So this man is a wealth of knowledge for anyone seeking instruction in real martial arts and street martial arts. This is the school to go to in Laredo, Texas. For those of you who are away from Laredo, this is the guy to look for, okay? He's very well versed in all the fighting styles of the different arts he is trained in, and I would highly recommend the school.
Hi, this is Mike Blackery from San Antonio, Texas, home of CMOC and the Wing Chun Boxing Academy. I'm here to tell you about my good friend Paul Buitron. He is reopening his school in Laredo, Texas. Paul is a wealth of knowledge. I've known him a long time. I highly suggest everybody in that area get with it. Go down there and train. Times are getting tough here. And with this COVID-19, we need to support local business. So I highly suggest go see Paul Buitron at the Don Zerou Sabat Academy in Laredo, Texas. You will not regret it. Be good.
Come train at the best kept secret of Laredo. Give us a call for your free evaluation at 956-401-4868 or check out our website at savat.biz. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook.